Back in my Importance of Nier video, I stated that Nier and L are actually two very different characters, because of how often Nier is accused of being an L clone. However, I didn't do a great job of pointing out what those differences actually were. Today I'm going to rectify that blunder by pretty much spelling out the different aspects of these two great characters. Consider this the Importance of Nier Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. The most obvious difference between Nier and L is their respective dynamic within their groups. L was willing to belittle and condescend to his peers. Usually it was Matsuda because he's, well, Matsuda. He was also more secretive with the task force. He would often withhold plans from them, only telling them what he was thinking when he needed them to be on board with his plans. He seemed to think that explaining his thoughts to the task force was a hassle whenever it was a topic over which he knew they would disagree. Nier, on the other hand, is much more of a team player. Even the very first time we see him, he agrees to work together with Mello with no pushback, even though he's fully aware Mello hates him at this point. But also with the SPK members, and even with the members of the task force with whom he speaks. He's willing to cooperate and listen to their ideas. That said, both Nier and L clearly have final say on strategic matters, as they are the authority figures of their respective groups. L takes on the Kira case solely due to personal curiosity. While he speaks of justice, he outright claims that he only cares about winning or being right. Nier actually feels obligated to stop Kira because he doesn't agree with the world Light's trying to build. L has a more grandiose attitude and imagination. He'll make more spectacular moves in his game against Kira, while Nier will make quieter, subtler moves. L tells his butler to shoot your tires out from a helicopter with a sniper rifle, while Nier just has his team members trail you. This is influenced by their attitudes towards the case itself. As stated in my original Nier video, he doesn't really consider Light to be all that special. Nier would be satisfied simply with defeating Kira, which he knows means defeating Light, and retrieving the notebook. Despite that, however, he's unwilling to win by underhanded means. He makes it clear that, if he wanted to, he could easily have Light and his subordinates killed, and simply seize the notebook discreetly. However, out of respect to L, he wishes to close the case out in the manner that L would, which is by obtaining proof that Kira is actually Light Yagami. Once he's done that, however, he simply wants to toss Light in prison. L, on the other hand, often claims that he would make a spectacle even over his triumph over Kira. He joked about bringing Kira's head back to Whammy's house as a trophy, and he publicly states his intentions to execute him in the very second episode. Part of this is psychological warfare against Light. He makes big moves to tempt Light to respond in turn, each time learning a bit more about him. Nier would rather his moves go undetected, if possible, while he quietly tightens the noose around Kira's neck. Nier's only concern is victory. L hates to admit when he's wrong. Nier, on the other hand, when presented with information suggesting that he's wrong, takes it into consideration and rolls with the new information. L is also more willing to commit morally dubious acts for the sake of the investigation, such as illegally spying on or detaining suspects. At the same time, however, L is better at manipulating people, so he's less likely to seem suspicious the longer you know him, while Nier is outwardly a little bit of an asshole, causing people to dislike him off the bat. Because of this, L is more capable of building close relationships, such as his father-son-esque relationship with Wataru, and his blossoming friendship with non-Kira Light in the Yotsuba arc. While Nier can't make any friends, it's clear that he feels genuine respect and compassion for those who have fallen by the end of the series. The most important differences are the most subtle ones. Nier and L are both slight jokesters. It's not always obvious if they're messing with you, or if they're just that unaware of social norms. In Nier's case, however, he's willing to explicitly taunt people for laughs, and often doesn't care if they know it. He's more playful, even if they might shoot him for what he's saying, like Mello nearly did. L is less willing to start a fight, generally speaking. The only people he's willing to condescend to are those he predicts probably won't even realize he's mocking them, like Misa or Matsuda, or those who he knows won't really respond too negatively towards it, like Light. He also jokes around in less hurtful ways than Nier more often. Nier's jokes often belittle other people, almost always his enemies, but L will just say or do random things that he thinks are funny, like the time he hands Mogi a strawberry in exchange for his silence. What people often seem to get backwards is that Nier is actually usually more expressive than L. L is more deceptive and mysterious than Nier, and therefore will feign certain emotional responses to situations for specific reasons. A good example of this is when he shows up at Light's college and pretends to be happy to see him for like 1 second before he drops the act. Nier doesn't bother to mislead people in the same way, and often just tells them what he feels. When L would internally curse Light for doing something dubious as Kira, Nier would call him out for doing it in a phone call when he knows the entire task force is listening. Now, none of this is to say that Nier is better than L. I mean, I do think that, because he's my favorite Death Note character. But the point of this video is just to point out that the two, while similar in some respects, are very different in others. There are probably more differences between the two characters that I didn't list here, because I wrote this entire script off memory, but hopefully the fact that I came up with so many differences to begin with will illustrate my point. If you have any more interesting differences between these two characters, feel free to leave them in the comments. That's all for today's video. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it.